Renfield is a new movie starring Nicolas Cage and Nicholas Hoult. That's two Nicholases. It's about Dracula, and there's only one question about this movie. Does it suck? Terrible joke. Let's talk about that. Hey guys, I'm Karl. Welcome to my movie film show. Feel free to subscribe down below if you would like to, but we're here today to talk about Renfield. As I mentioned, it's a movie about Dracula, more particularly about Dracula's servant, played by Nicholas Hoult. And this movie is interesting. It's a comedy horror movie made by the guy who made the Lego movie and the Lego Batman movie, and also The Tomorrow War, which was a flaming hot pile of garbage. But Nick Cage is in there playing Dracula, and he gives it 120% in this movie. It's a good performance from Nicolas Cage, no doubt.
I need to get out of a toxic relationship.
Nicholas Hoult plays our protagonist as the main actor throughout the movie, and he's quite good in it too. As I mentioned, we follow Renfield, the servant of Dracula. He's immortal and he has superpowers when he eats bugs. Or sort of superpowers, super strength at least. This movie had so many good things to it and so many bad things to it. The bad thing was the story. The underlying story they try to fit in there, the whole boy meets girl thing they try to wedge in there as well, completely unnecessary. The cool things in this movie is all the action, because the action is insane in this movie. Some of the action scenes, the fight scenes, they're just insane. Blood, guts and gore everywhere. For a movie I watched at 5:30 in the day, and kids came into it at the beginning and came over to me and asked if they were in the right movie. They were going to see Dungeons and Dragons instead. It's a good thing they went to see that, because right at the start of the movie there's some people getting torn apart and kicked apart and blood everywhere, and it's kind of insane. The fight scenes are kind of spectacular. There's even a point where a guy gets both of his arms ripped off, and then Nicholas Hoult uses those arms to beat up the rest of the bad guys. It's got a lot of fun. It's got a lot of wackiness to it. In terms of those elements in the movie, they do exactly what I say you should always do. If you're going to go wacky like that, you go all in. You don't half-ass it. If you're going to go for wild and crazy and insane, like ripping someone's arms off and beating everyone else with them, you go all in on that stuff. The blood splatter in this movie is ridiculous. The budget for fake blood must have been through the roof. You know, I know they use a lot of CGI elements now. That part is all fantastic, but as I mentioned, to have a whole kind of demon meets girl story rather than a boy meets girl story, and they kind of have a little bit of connection there with Awkwafina's character, but it's very much forced and completely unnecessary. You don't need that boy meets girl thing in there all the time. And then you've also got this whole thing with the mafia bosses and Dracula's sides of the you know, there's a lot going on in the movie. I'm kind of in the air as to whether I like the look of the movie, to be honest, because the trailers and everything, they use some interesting colors. The posters have some neon colors on them, and I'm always a big fan of neon stuff. I think because even though I'm a grown-up, I still go, ooh, shiny. The film looked unique, but I'm not sure whether it looked good unique. The story elements, part of the story's good and part of the story's bad. Renfield's trying to get away from Dracula. We find out how Renfield became Dracula's servant towards the end, and how he kind of tricked them, how you can't believe Dracula, because, you know, you might be shocked to find out Dracula's actually not a good guy, he's a bad guy. Spoiler alert. There's also a lot of really good jokes there, a lot of laugh out loud moments in there.
You know when something crazy happens and someone's like, it's okay, I've seen way worse. Everything I saw you do today is gonna be my way worse.
There's also a lot of cheesy moments in there. So the movie's kind of got a lot of hit and miss. Some of it's great and some of it's terrible. Overall, I think Renfield is going to be in a similar category to that M. Night Shyamalan movie I watched not too long ago, Knock at the Cabin. It's going to be one of those movies that in 5 or 6 years time, everybody completely forgets was even a thing. I enjoyed the movie because it ramps up towards the end. But to be honest with you, this was the first time in a long time I actually considered leaving a movie halfway through, because the story was kind of just getting a bit meh. But overall, the movie does ramp up towards the end. It's got some good action scenes, a good comedy in there. It's worth a watch if you've nothing else to watch. I'd give it a 6 out of 10. But the best movie I've watched in 2023 so far is still the Super Mario Brothers. My review is right over here. If you've already seen that, there's another review to check out right over here. And with all that being said, I'll catch you in the next video.